One of the oldest questions in criminology, and for that matter, psychology, theology, and law, is whether criminals, in other words, serial killers, are born or made. Is there a genetic disposition about them? Or is it all based on environmental factors that affect them? Now, let's talk about what a serial killer is first. A serial killer is somebody who kills 3 or more people over a given amount of time. And throughout each murder, there's something known as cooling off periods. And during these cooling off periods, the killer will go back to its normal everyday life, which serial killers can look like anybody. They can look like me and you. They don't have a distinct look about them. They could be very smart, like us, but they also could be very unintelligent, like some people. They vary. Now let's talk about how they are made. Now, when a serial killer is a child, they could go through some traumatic event that could affect them a lot, such as physical or sexual abuse, dysfunctional family, or just not very good parents overall. And this could have to do with parents as well, because parents could help. Parents have a role in helping their children learn right from wrong and good from bad. When a child doesn't learn that in the very early stages of life, that could be traumatizing and could affect them a lot. Now, when researchers study serial killers, they look at their personality and where the kids lived, and also they look at their behavioral problems that they had. So if a child was killing animals or harming other people and had no empathy towards others, or if they just expressed rage all the time, those could be early signs of a potential psychopath. Which a psychopath, remember, is somebody who has no empathy towards one another. Which not all psychopaths are going to become serial killers. It is remember, it's extremely rare that psychopaths become a serial killer. Now, let's talk about the nature side. Is there genetic disposition involved? The common thing that researchers have found among serial killers is that they have a disorder called antisocial personality disorder. That doesn't go to say that all people with this disorder are going to become serial killers. That's not the case. Another common thing among some is narcissism, which narcissism is fully inflated ego and just thinking you're the best. That also goes to say that not all narcissistic people will become serial killers. There are plenty of ego-inflated people that are not serial killers. But this was just found among scientists and researchers that serial killers had in common. That's all it is. And another example is of Bobby Joe Long and Richard Speck. Those two serial killers had an extra X and Y chromosome amongst them. That's what researchers found. And that could therefore suggest that a different form in the the male genetic system or chromosome system could affect the way people are. Another example is when before a serial killer is even born and their parents are addicted to alcohol. The alcohol could do some traumatic stuff to their brain, or in other words, their genes. More specifically, the frontal cortex, which in part controls the negative and violent emotions there. And those genes can be passed on to the kids of those drinkers, and that could also still leave their frontal cortex all messed up, and it could still affect the negative and violent emotions, so they could have a hard time with that. Now let's talk about how do we deal with serial killers in society. Now, we can manage them, we can rehabilitate them, but sadly there's no cure. Because psychopathy is not something you can cure. Remember, psychopaths are somebody who lack empathy, and not all psychopaths are going to become a serial killer. Right? But it's important to look for warning signs so we can help those people that have such warning signs, such as if they're killing animals or have no empathy towards others, or if they have express all this rage all the time. We can fix them in the early stages, and we can help them a lot. Help them restore their consciousness, per se. But there's not much we can do after a long period of time. Right? There's sadly just no cure. Maybe one day researchers will find a way to help them more, so they can one day go out into society and live a normal life like they used to without killing. But for now, as there still are serial killers and how dangerous they are, we have to keep them contained in a prison. Yeah, we have to know this so we can protect. We do this so that we can protect families and friends as well. Thank you. Have a nice day.